pressed something.
So, a few technical hitches, but we're back in the game.
Sorry, everybody, I pressed the wrong button.
Is that set up?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, that's in the corners.
Does it need that detail?
That's it. Perfect. Sorry about that.
Right, Mike. Kettle's on, is it?
Yeah,
I'm coming round. Ooh.
I don't put the kettle on, it makes too much noise.
Okay. So, Mike, we've been talking. Berry off. I'm indoors now. Take your berry off. There's no woodpeckers in here. So. You might remember we've done the interview with Mike. We touched on the fact that Mike was a bit of a boxer in his day. But what I wanted to talk to you tonight, and what Mike wanted to talk to you on this last video, is how he got from. We already spoke about. If you go watch the other video, we spoke about his schoolboy box, his amateur schoolboy, before he joined the army. He got to the army and out in Hong Kong and had a fight or two. But then, Mike, you went over to company boxing at company level.
Intercompany boxing.
Intercompany boxing. So it's like A company, B company.
That's
and
right,
you were support company?
I was support company then, yeah.
So tell us about that, Mike, and how you developed into battalion boxing team.
So the intercompany boxing, obviously I was forwarded, didn't have any sort of question in it.
You were picked.
I was
selected.
I was successful. I would become the ROW middleweight champion at the time, and then a couple of weeks later, I was selected to box for the battalion against the Royal Regiment of Fusiliers in Warminster. Now, as I said just now, I was a middleweight, which is my natural weight. So 3 weeks into the training, I was finding it very easy. 8-mile runs, eating what I wanted, drinking what I wanted, but I was still 75 kilos every time I got onto the scale. And I used to laugh at all the boys on diets, sucking ice cubes and eating cucumber when I'd eaten a full breakfast, say. So 3 weeks before the fight, I was called into the office by Major Harry and Carsani Williams. And Will's nice if you're watching. And Willie grabbed my cheek and he went, "I think you can do it." And I said, "What are you talking about?"
Do what?
He said, "We've lost our welterweight." I said, "Well, you better find him then." He said, "We have. It's you." I said, "Hang on a minute now. I'm middleweight, 75 kilos, and a welterweight is 65 kilos.
That's 10 kilos.
10 kilos.
And how long did you have?
3 weeks.
10 kilos in 3 weeks. I couldn't lose that.
I've never trained so hard in my life. It got to a point where I had to get moved out of my married quarter and actually locked in my accommodation at night so that I wouldn't attack anybody with a pizza or a kebab.
Was you hungry?
Oh, hungry. You won't believe it.
Talk us through, Mike. Talk us through. It's okay, you're locked away, etc. But was you escorted to breakfast every morning?
Oh, yeah. I could only go to breakfast when I was actually in the gym. So we'd go in the morning. We'd do an 8-mile run and 300 sit-ups.
Before breakfast?
And then go for breakfast if we were allowed to have breakfast.
What was you allowed to have?
Ice cubes and a piece of, probably a bit of cucumber. I was on by that point.
No way.
Yeah. My daughter was 8 months old and she was eating more food than I was.
You must have been in bits. Because
of the aggression and everything, they decided that I had to move out of my family home. They locked me in support company accommodation. This is genuine. So the night before the fight, we were taken to Warminster, put in the accommodation. Again, I was locked in my room. And I was watching a video of the ROW boxing the Paras in Warminster the year before. And my brother's on there. And Wayne Mason, if you're watching this, you break your legs. It's a horrific thing to see in a boxing ring. And as I'm watching this video, the door opens and in comes Major Harry and Willie. Major Harry's got pie and chips and Willie's got sausage and chips.
Oh, mate, no.
And they sit on the end of my bed and they're just sitting there eating chips and just talking. I remember
just this to wind you up.
I remember this fight and I'm sitting there saying, "You pair better get out here now." What's the matter, Gringo? You hungry? And I'm starving by then. So they get up and they start throwing chips at me as they're leaving the room, calling me an animal.
Was you eating them?
Oh, you're picking them up and chasing them out the door. So they locked me in. 7 o'clock in the morning, we weigh in. Get on the scales. 62 kilos. Instead of 65, I lost. Sorry, 63. Instead of 65, I lost 2 kilos that I didn't need to lose.
You must have been Hank Marvin.
So breakfast, I ate the biggest amount of sausages and bacon I could ever fit in. I went sick a few times when I was 7 or 8.
Your stomach must have shrunk.
Everything,
It's 3 weeks now.
3
we're
weeks.
talking.
Yeah.
So in 3 weeks, you imagine ice cubes and bits and pieces just to keep you alive.
Yeah.
What about obviously lots of fluids?
Or loads of, but no, too. I had to. I got to a point where, say, if I had a glass of water that weighed 10 grams,
Yeah.
I'd drink the glass of water and I'd put 10 grams on. There was nothing left for me to burn off. There was nothing left.
There's no fat.
So,
but how about muscle waste? Did you lose a lot of muscle waste? Or
well, I remember my mate Steve saying I looked like a skinned racehorse.
But was you?
There was muscle defiance.
Yeah. So all the body fat. But so
I was told
obviously you were still training.
Oh, just training flat out.
What I wanted to know, Mike, was there you are for 3 weeks on this crazy crap diet to lose weight, but they still expected you to spar every day.
Oh yeah, full out training, 300 sit-ups, 8 mile runs.
What was the fatigue like? I mean,
terrible.
You go on an 8 mile run with no energy, really.
Yeah,
so just burning body
with
fat.
bin bags on and difficult. Going to skip in saunas.
I don't think that, I think in today's world, Mike, I've got to tell you, I think that would be banned. I think that would have been like against your human rights,
Well, it actually paid off in my sort of for my favour, because for some reason in the military they put welterweight on last, and so there was 11 fights which started at 10 o'clock in the morning and then throughout the day the fights, and I was last 10 o'clock in the night going on.
And this is against who?
The Royal Regiment of Fusiliers. If anybody's watching that remembers this, Warminster 1994, you hammered us 10-1. 10-1.
But the one,
I was the one.
The one was this guy.
The last fight of the night, I was the only one that won at the RRW. Proud night, but a shocking defeat to lose 10-1. But Fusiliers, they must remember that. There's people out in the Regiment of Fusiliers, they must remember that.
There's got to be some lads.
There's got to be.
Mike, when so you were a boxer from a young age. How old did you start?
11.
11 years old. So what I wanted to ask you, because I'm not a boxer, I've never done boxing. I couldn't box myself out of way of paper bag. But did you get into many scraps? I mean, I'm talking scraps at school, scraps in the army. I'm talking outside the ring now. I'm talking downtown on the piss or whatever. Was you a scrapper? Was you a fighter?
Growing up as a kid, yes. But as soon as I joined the army, all that was, you were told, discipline, you got your regiment to think about and all that kind of stuff. Just controlled aggression. But the reason why I ended up, my boxing and stopped, or my boxing career ended, is we were on rear party in Turnhill. The regiment was going to Ballykelly. Skeleton crew left in the camp, and we were doing guard duties. So my mate Matthew, if you're watching this, Matt, see you soon, decided we'd go home to Barry and have a few beers on the train, and then go from Barry for a few beers. Told my wife at the time, and Matthew told his wife, that we couldn't come home because we were on guard. Okay. So we had a really good night. It was about 12 o'clock in Quids Inn in Barry. Matthew turns to go to the toilet and he bumped this guy by accident. The guy turns down and headbutts Matthew in the face. As Matthew goes down covering his face, the guy steps back and goes to kick him. So I pushed this guy over a table, grabbed Matthew, get him out of there.
Yeah.
Bouncers by the door. Matthew, okay, yeah, it's fine. Bit of blood, washed it off, no problem. So exactly a week later, we were leather by that time. A week later, again, sorry love, can't come home, doing guard, same detail, train down to Barry, but this time going to Quids Inn completely sober. Didn't have a drink. As we got to the door, the bouncer was there, Mac. He said, look, there were no trouble tonight, make sure. I said, great, no problem. So went in, ordered 2 pints, went to the toilet. And as I was in the toilet, there was a guy in the toilet that I recognised from last week, the guy that headbutted Matthew.
Yeah.
So he came and stood next to me, and he said, I recognise you from last week. I'm still peeing. And he headbutted me in the side of the face. So I looked at him, said, give me a chance to put it away first.
Yeah.
And as I turned round, I went to hit him, and I had a voice behind me saying, you hit him, then you got us 3 to fight through. So I had a choice of taking this guy out and fighting with those 3, or just taking what this guy had. So I just took what he could give me, and all he did was headbutt me, and headbutt me, and headbutt me. I was blood from head all over my face.
But you stood up when he
stood up, yeah. I kept calling him that he was weak, and if they weren't there, he'd head me down the toilet and all that kind of stuff. And this gentleman came in, and they stopped, and I walked past Matthew, and he couldn't believe what he's seen. The bouncer sees me outside. He goes absolutely ballistic and says he's off duty. And then one of the boys who was in the army with me in Hong Kong, Fred Proud, taxi driver. He gets out of his taxi with a baseball bat. Who's done that to you, Gringo?
Yeah.
That's the last thing I remember. I woke up 10 days later in Cardiff Road Infirmary, wired to the hospital.
Really?
They thought I'd had meningitis when they picked me up.
Yeah. When did they pick you up from outside the club?
No, apparently, that was a Friday night. Apparently, Saturday and Sunday, I stayed in bed.
Yeah.
Monday morning, when I should have been, or Sunday evening, I should have been catching a train back. I'm too ill to move. So Monday morning, Jan, if you took me to hospital in Cardiff, they rushed me straight in, done all the tests. I had 2 lumbar punches. Those, you know what they are, the injection in the back.
Check you for meningitis.
And when I came round, there was a doctor stood above my bed with a clipboard. And he said, "Oh, I haven't seen someone as ill as you and survive for a long time."
Oh, cheers for that.
I was like, "Why, what happened?" I said, I was beaten up in a pub. I said, "Pardon?" So we thought you had meningitis. I said, "No, we headbutted, we were beaten up." So I had to do all scans again to see if there was any brain damage. And there already was, so.
Yeah. So, Mike, in any of your fights, I mean, not much street fighting, but in any of your fights, certainly boxing, did you ever break any bones, i.e. your nose or I know you broke your jaw.
My nose was broken.
Because you got quite a good nose, by the way.
About the 5th fight in, I had a real good pasting off this one guy. I can't remember where he was from.
Yeah.
But I remember he did give me a good pasting.
Not in the battalion, he was.
No, this was before I joined the army.
Oh, okay.
Amateur. And worst thing was, he was in front of my home crowd. My girlfriend was there.
So in the amateur boxing, did you have to wear the head guards?
No, not then.
Just gum shield?
Yeah, just
That's
gum
all
shield.
you had?
Yeah.
But I think now they use head guards, don't they? For amateur.
Oh, yeah, you've got to use head guards, which is a false sense of security. It just stops you clashing heads and cutting eyes.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually stop the punch impact at all.
So, Mike, what I wanted to ask you is, we've done the interview. If you haven't seen the full interview where we talk for about an hour and a half nearly, and I know it's a long time, but it's worth watching. One thing I haven't asked you in that video, which I want to ask you now, you're getting nervous now, is because we all have these. I mean, did you have, with your military career, have you got any regrets? I.e., do you think you joined the right regiment? Do you think you should have done this or that? Is there any regrets in your military service that you've got?
Yes.
I know it's a hard question. I know it's a personal question.
Yes, it's something that I've thought about for many years. I wish I'd gone into the battalion in Hong Kong as a single man.
So what age would you have been? You've been very young there.
19 as a single man. Because what I noticed very quickly in battalion, the pads, the married soldiers, weren't connecting with the single soldiers as much. We had our own little room where we changed our clothes. And it's like with the single soldiers, every night after work, they'd get together in each other's rooms and they bond. Well, you didn't get that bond as a pad.
I think you're right, Mike. But I tell you what I saw, as I was leaving the army, I got in 2015. But I noticed maybe late 1990s, early 2000s, when the accommodation started, there was a couple of things, right? I noticed in my unit, when we left Germany, because all the single lads in Germany, you couldn't go home at the weekend. So it come to Friday night or whatever, and it's a captive audience. You're all in the same block. You're in 8-man rooms. The camaraderie was there. We didn't have all the Xboxes and the mobile phones and all that malarkey. So we really bonded. It's like, let's get on the drink, or whatever, or we'd play snooker, or we'd play football. The bonding was there. Yeah. Once we got posted back to UK, because it was then easier on a Friday finish at 12 o'clock, everybody's scooting home. And so the single block was pretty much empty. And of course, the pubs weren't as readily available as they were in Germany. So we started to lose that, you know what I mean, that camaraderie. And then I found, when I was still serving, that as time went on and they changed to Z-type accommodation, we went from, obviously the 8-man rooms, which are naff, I get that, down to the Z-type accommodation. We basically now, you can get like a travel lodge room,
it's like
an ensuite.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like guys are staying in their rooms more. Listen, if any of you guys that are serving, please put me, tell me I'm wrong, but I don't think the same thing was. Do you know what I'm saying, right?
They weren't bonding as much as they were in a large 8-man room or a 4-man room. Because when you go on tour in Northern Ireland, you were in rooms, you know, you'd have like up to 30 people in a room, but 3 bunk beds high. And you really had to get used to living with the people that you were with, and you really had to get on with them for 6 months. And that helped if you were sharing a room with them, like an 8-man room. But if you were all in Z accommodation, you've never shared
No, I mean,
that much.
I'm sure,
your space was just your size of your burger, and that was your bed space.
What surprised me is when I got to Purbright, ATL Purbright, which was about, I think 2013, I got to Purbright. And I noticed then that in the rooms, well, obviously it's a lot better. You know, all the blankets are gone, all the sheets are gone. The guys were issued quilts and plain blue quilt covers. And I think after so many weeks, they could change the quilt cover to like Action Man or Ninja Turtles or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, wow, you know, still got to make their bed, and bed blocks are a pain in the ass. But I don't know. Something was missing. Do you know what I mean? I'm a dinosaur.
We took quilts to depot. I do remember that. They were all taken off us until after the 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Up until then, it was bed blocks, itchy blankets, bed blocks. But after the 6 weeks, right, you can have your quilts back.
I think that's, you know,
and it was a case of who can get the most freakiest or the most weirdest.
Yeah.
You know, you had Barbie, you had My Little Pony.
Action Man.
Oh, this just Sam Age would come in and he'd be like, why aren't these like Rambo? Or,
who's that? Yeah. Who's got My Little Pony?
And all this, My Little Pony. And
but I do think that it's great to have your own room. Of course you want your own room. You know, I get that. But
that was a privilege for lance corporals and corporals who live in the block.
Yeah, you know, you had to work to get your own room.
So everybody's got it doesn't have it's not as
I mean, in basic, don't get me wrong, in basic trains they don't get their own room. I think they're in 8-man rooms, but they're sort of sectioned a little bit, but from what I can remember. But I remember when I got to Germany after basic training, yes, rooms were 8-man or 16-man rooms, but there's about 8 of us, or maybe 4 in a room. But you had so many spare lockers in Germany that you could actually sort of like put 3 or 4 lockers around your pit space and maybe put a bar across and drape a sheet or something. It's got a bit of privacy, you can bang one out like that. you know, but it was still really good. You know, communal. You know,
in Hong Kong they had 2-man rooms.
Okay,
so it was plenty of space for 2 bunk beds. Yeah, and then it was a window in the centre, air conditioning. Yeah, 2 beds either side, 2 single beds. But then in Turnhill they were accommodation blocks again. Like I think they were up to 8-man rooms. But the support company had the little the one you walk through and you had the flat.
What do you reckon you saw not on operations obviously, but you know, in peacetime locations, what was the best accommodation you saw for the single guys?
The best accommodation, I'd say, you would have been...
That you saw? Turnhill? No.
Depends. If you were in the HQ company and support company in Turnhill, they had brand new accommodation because the IRA blew it up.
Yes.
In the 90s. So
thanks, guys.
They had brand new blocks. Yeah. Thank you, support company. Brand new accommodation. But the rest of it was quite like a Victorian blocks. Yeah. High ceilings, big windows.
You spoke to me about stables, actually.
Well,
this is a good one.
In Hounslow, when I moved into the accommodation...
I'm going for a whiz because I've been on the beer. Mike, chat to him about Hounslow.
We were taken to accommodation, and I'll never forget this. The carpet was over the little tesserides that you get in stables, and it had a trough where the horse
still got
fed.
My mic on,
it had the rings where they would tie the horse, and then it had the big stable doors which opened out, and that was classed as my accommodation.
We'll turn this off.
I was sleeping in the stables, which, according to I think it was B Company's accommodation, it was a lot better because they had cabins and they were in bad state. They should have been condemned. Apparently, the whole camp should have been condemned, but as always, the RW take over a shithole and hand over a palace. So we always do. Yeah, that accommodation was the old camp was really old, and there's only so much polishing you can do. There's only so much painting you can do. There's only so much you can maintain a camp before someone. There's nothing else you can do.
Okay, now I drink 1 can of piss too.
Yeah, very strange. So we can Mr. Potter to come back. Are you back, Mr. Potter?
Hey?
Are you okay?
Yeah, I had to.
Yeah. So
stable accommodation.
It's actual stables. Yeah, just converted into a room. Just put a bed in a locker.
So
That was all cavalry accommodation, I'm assuming.
Well, I was saying to Mike actually when I got to Germany, you know when you check your vehicles in, once you go on troop parade, platoon parade, or whatever, and what we used to do was after roll call and the parade, troop parade, or whatever, the first thing was first parades, which was obviously first parading the vehicles. But I remember when I got to Germany, we called it stable parades. We didn't have any horses. It was vehicles, but it was called stable parades for some strange reason. I suppose it harks back to horse artillery or whatever. So we had stable parades. And actually, some of our vehicles, certainly armoured vehicles, were in old stables out in Germany. Mm. We called it stable parade. And I was talking about stable belts, many stable belts. Mm. And when I was in the artillery, we had the belt with the buckles on the side, on the left-hand side. So obviously there was nothing on the front. If you were going to climb on a horse, you weren't going to, or getting up close to it.
Down, yeah.
But then in Queen's Regiment, we had like a proper belt, a belt with a buckle on the front that clipped in a big silver, it's a blue belt with a silver plate with a cap badge in the centre. And then when we amalgamated with the Royal Hampshires, we went back to what I remember as the stable belt, blue, yellow, blue belt that went round and the buckles at the side. But RRW...
Same thing, we had the 3 stripes with the buckle in the front.
Yes.
It was like the RRW crest. Yeah. In the centre, there's a clicked into the arm.
And you called it a stable belt?
Yeah, still called it a stable belt.
I think that's where it comes from.
And then you had the green plastic belt with the same buckle on it.
The old green plastic belt. Do you remember that?
It was more of a working dress, wasn't it?
Yeah. We was also talking the other day about the old lightweight trousers. I don't know. I don't think this is any more lightweight trousers. You want another beer, Mike?
I was going to go and grab one.
It's out on the... He wants a beer. It's not like mine. Watch out, though. It might be a bit lively, that one. I dropped it. What was I talking about now?
Lightweights.
Oh, yeah, lightweights. The old lightweight green trousers, which, they're pretty cool. I mean, our working dress, I'm going back now to 70, and it went on to
we had the same working dress.
So we had boots, putties, then it went to boots combat high. You had these green, sort of plain green, lightweight trousers. They were lightweight, a pocket on the side, like a mat pocket on the side. And when you wore those, you wore a KF shirt, later on as the OG shirt in winter time, and then a jumper on top, and then a belt around the jumper, stable belt or a green plastic belt, depending on where you were. And then obviously in summer, you had the green lightweight trousers, KF shirt or OG shirt with a belt.
Or a complete T-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing with
we're talking about ironing them.
Yeah, some RSMs didn't mind two-tone denims.
Yeah.
Because we explained two-tone denims. People also have the creases sewn in on the denims. And when you have the creases sewn in, you don't have to iron both sides of the denim.
No,
you just iron the outer side.
So you have the outside, that gives like a really light green colour.
And it'll change.
Yeah, and then like two-tone. But even, I remember we weren't allowed to have sewn in creases.
It depended on the RSM.
But even so, we still used to... I've got a picture of me in Northern Ireland, actually, running across the road near, it's near Lurgan, somewhere like that, going into an RUC base. It's quite a cool picture, actually. I'm running across the road with my mate Gary Eldred, and luckily we had a military photographer doing the culvert photographs, and he photographed me and Gary running across, and you can clearly see the toe. It's a black and white photograph. Yeah. You can see the two-tone. Now, they weren't sewn in creases. That's just where we ironed the outside only. There's like light green on the outside, dark green to the centre.
Yeah, we couldn't get away with that. Well, like I said, it was dependent on the RSM at the time. Some did, some didn't.
Yeah, we couldn't have sewn in creases. But obviously, lightweight trousers, we wore those in Northern Ireland back in the day. We didn't even wear helmets unless you're on a riot. We wore berets all the time. So you had berry combat jacket, KF shirt or Norwegian shirt, and lightweight trousers and boots. Yeah. But then if we'd gone on the riots, you had to switch out of those lightweight trousers because what they found was they were made out of some sort of crappy nylon material. And if a petrol bomb come through, these things just melted into your legs. The old lightweights I don't know what they're made of.
That's the temperate combats.
Yeah, so when we went out on riots, it's combat trousers, wasn't it?
Yeah, temperate combats, not lightweights, not jungle combats. No, no. The temperate, so they'd withstand the petrol. They wouldn't completely withstand the petrol. No, give you a couple of seconds for the fireman to come in to put you out.
Yeah, it wouldn't melt as quick.
It wouldn't melt.
But anyway, we thought we'd have a quick chat with you guys. I want to say a massive thank you to my mate here, my brother.
I want to say thank you to Keith for putting
what
up
a
with me.
guy, you know. And it's not the end of this. I mean, Mike's going back tomorrow. I'm getting down to the railway station tomorrow morning, and he's back to South Wales, God's own country. And hopefully we will get together again soon. We haven't seen each other for a year now. It's been a year and since we've seen each other. So hopefully there'll be some more. Thank you for your support to the channel. You know, I hit 1,000 subscribers, 10,000 subscribers, sorry, today. And a lot of that to do with Mike. Mike's been a great supporter of the channel. I want Mike to start his own channel up, the Welsh Tabber.
Nah, I'll leave it all to Keith.
He's got so many stories.
No,
He's got so many stories.
I would rather leave all the...
But hopefully, you know, either I'm going to get down there and maybe if I can get down there, me and him can do some stuff in Wales. I don't know. That's a bit different tab into vast flat Lincolnshire. You get down to where he lives, obviously in South Wales. You know, I'll be breathing out with what's name. So anyway, thanks for your support. Thanks for supporting Mike. He's had some great comments down to you guys. And what we'll do is we'll do something again soon. But what we want to say is thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
This
Much
is for you,
appreciated.
especially the veterans, especially the supporters.
All
everyone
the viewers.
subscribe. And if you haven't subscribed, let me have a quick drink. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider it. I'm not saying do it, are we, Mike?
No.
He's not saying do it either.
I don't.
We're saying consider it. But until the next time, and it won't be long, remember, troops.
Less tab.
Less tab.